Time for the Pucking Around podcast. Puck around and find out.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 43 of the Pucking Around podcast, presented by tpuckwithmedia. We have a great show for you today. Joining us today, as always, right above me, we have my co-host on Hibernation, Cam. Cam, how are we feeling today?
Woo! Actually, a little down. It was a rough loss.
Yeah, we had today was the matinee game against Florida, so we're not doing too hot. Up in the opposite corner, Alex Fournette from Flyer Gonna Flyer.
Vogel, I gotta say, I'm impressed. You literally jumped right on that intro, the millisecond the friggin' intro ended. That's got to be a record for the show.
What can I say? I try to do my best. And to my right is Rick from Talking Habs and Hab Normals.
Well, you want me to say how I'm doing? Not
Terrible.
effing good, but I'm here, so that's pretty good. No, I'm good. Just
No, Rick, we wanted you to tell us
Life.
how awful you are.
it's life, life gets in the way.
So we got a good show for everybody today. The first week of the NHL season has come to a close. We are officially in week 2. I think that there were some ups, there were some downs for all the teams. There were some surprises on who showed out, who struggled at first. We're going to get into it all tonight. Got a couple different topics for you guys. We're going to go into teams that have impressed us so far, teams that have struggled, and towards the end, we're going to get into some key players with injuries that have happened this past week. Jumping right into it, the teams that have impressed us so far. We're going to go through one by one and explain. I think most of us might have a unanimous team. I'll start it off. I have Utah. Utah has come out flying for a new team. I watched their inaugural game. The ceremony was awesome. Everything was cool. They came out flying. They looked hot. So far, it's just a fun team to watch. The Bruins are playing them this week, so that'll be a fun game for us.
But the air went out of the balloon today, though. 3-0 loss.
It did. They finally maybe knocked down a couple pegs, but so far this week, they've been good. Mm-hmm. Keller looks good. Dylan, I'm going to get this wrong. Gunther, he looks good. Yeah. It's just they look great. They look great so far, and it might just be riding the high from a new team. But Rick, who do you have?
Yeah. By the way, just 16 goals they scored already until today. So that's, I think, 3 games, 16 goals. They were on a high.
And then they got shut out by New Jersey.
I think they have the most goals for in the league.
All right, so you already all made fun of me about my pick. You're probably going to say there's bias there, but Montreal has impressed me, even though it's my team. They have Lane Hudson, Cole Caulfield getting this game back, Monty and Nets, and I'm obviously big supporter of these guys, and they've impressed me. Brendan Gallagher, great second half last year, and starting off the season. He had 3 years where you wonder what happened to him. He was injured and all that. And he looks like Brendan Gallagher of 3 years ago. So, yeah, I think it's pretty impressive. Can they hang on to this kind of play? I kind of think they may be able to, but maybe not. We'll see how that goes. But so they impressed me. My number 2, though, was Utah.
Hey, Rick, I got a question for you. Why does your fan base hate Mike Matheson so much right now? I know the answer.
I couldn't tell you. Because half of the fan base are idiots. That's the only thing I can say.
Good. You're trying to appeal to your fan base, so there you go.
No, okay. I'll say just on this particular thing, Mike Matheson. Look at his numbers, the ice time, the players he plays against, who he faces off against. He makes mistakes, and in Montreal, you make a mistake, and it's
You're gonna get some hate mail. I hope you read that out loud. You're trying to get appeal to that fan base, man. I get it. Fans can be.
I'm just saying.
I'm outrageous. I was saying, hang the team earlier.
If you shit all over a defenseman that gets 61 points, 26 minutes average ice time, quarterbacks your power play, it just faces, like I said, the best teams on the other. If you're shitting on that guy, there's something wrong with you, not him.
I think it sounds like, from what I'm seeing from outside sources, from some of the Habs fans that I do follow, a lot of them are just upset he's still no quarterback in the first power play, and they've just been clamoring for Lane Hudson to get there.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be long. Hudson will be on that first power play.
Yeah, that just sounds like what it is. But yeah, he's been a stud so far. I got to give him props. He's been really damn good these first few games. He had 4 assists in 3 games.
With Habs fans, by the way, it's always something. It's always something to hate. They can't hate on that one. They'll hate on that one. I mean, that's
last year was Bitchcroft. They all hated on.
But there's always one guy on the team that takes the brunt of stupidity for some reason.
Rick, I got to ask too. What's that jersey you're wearing tonight?
Last team I played on, the Rockets. This was my team. It's not the sweater I wore because it's 18. Mine was 27 and had a C on it. Yeah, this is the last team I played on.
I like it. I like it.
I guess I'll go next.
We weren't very good.
I'll go next. This one's a little different from what everyone had. I picked the Calgary Flames. And this is surprising me because I actually had them at the very bottom of the league. They were my last place team this league year. They're 3-0 so far. I don't think. First of all, let me start with this. I don't think this will last. But I do want to give them their props right now. 3-0 start. They've been scoring a lot. I think they also put up 16 goals in their first 3 games because they scored 6 against Vancouver. They scored 6 against us, and they put up 4 against Edmonton. Yeah. So, yeah, they're up to 16 in 3 games as well. But 3-0 start from them. And what's cool about this team is just the emotional roller coaster that we're riding right now, obviously, with what happened to Johnny Gaudreau. Like, rest in peace, and wish the best for his family.
Did you guys see that the pregame ceremony they had before their first home game?
Yeah,
they did an unbelievable job.
Loved it.
It was unbelievable.
When I was watching that game with Nicole, I told her, I guarantee you the very last highlight they show of Johnny G will be the game-winning goal, or series-winning goal he had against the Stars. Boom, that was the last highlight.
It was unbelievable. I saw.
Go ahead, sorry.
I saw it on Twitter. I had chills.
Like, it was the moment that defines Johnny Gaudreau's career, is when that he scored that goal when Jake Ottinger is absolutely standing on his head throughout those 2 overtimes, and then he comes out and finally beats him to win that series for Calgary. That was such a cool moment for them. And I wasn't shocked at all that they beat the Flyers too that night. They won 6-3. They came ready to play. They were ready to. They rode the emotional ride, and it's like I'm happy for that team. I do hope, although I don't think, like I said, it's going to last. I do hope Calgary does have some level of success this year. Them and Columbus both, to be honest with you, for obvious reasons. And another thing I've noticed about Calgary is their resiliency in third periods. You look at the Vancouver game, they started off, I think, down 4-1 in that game, and they fought back to grind that game into overtime with some third period heroics, ended up winning it in overtime. And then against the Flyers, they went up 3. I mean, they were up 3-2 after the Farabee ended up potting a goal to cut the lead back to 1. And Flyers were pressuring like crazy despite not playing the night before. They outshot the crap out of them, but they held strong. Dustin Wolf was absolutely spectacular in that game. All the props to him, and they ended up potting 3 goals at the very end there to put that game away. So I got to give it to Calgary. That team has definitely surprised me thus far. And then if I had to pick a second team, it would probably be Utah, even though they got blanked today. It's still a 3-1 start. They were off to a really hot start. Also 16 goals in their first 3 games, as mentioned prior. So got to give props to Utah as well. Cam, who's your teams?
It's undoubtedly Utah. They're 3-0. They just got moved to a new location. 3-1. Sorry, yeah, 3-1 after today. After getting blanked by New Jersey, but I mean, they've faced like, I don't know, I would say two out of 3 quality opponents. Like, the New York Islanders. I mean, they have a stud, goalie. I mean, sure, you can add some questions on the defense for the Islanders, but I would say Sorokin and Varlamov are 2 very stud goaltenders. And then they beat the New York Rangers 6-5 in overtime. A lot of goals against, though, so I think they need to definitely, figure that out a bit. But I think Mikhail Sergachev has just been an absolute wonderful addition for them. The kid, Dylan Gunther's just had been on an absolute tear. I mean, that team is just exciting to watch, especially after they moved on from Arizona. You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of like the defining factor for me that kind of sets them above Calgary. And I know With the loss of Johnny, they definitely have a lot to play for in Calgary. But I just think, moving locations and getting acclimated to a new arena, getting acclimated to a new fan base, and it also gives them something to play for and gives Utah something excited to watch. I just think that team is the freaking balls, dude. Something to get excited about. You always like to see that, right? Like, especially if you look at the expansion teams like Vegas, like Seattle. Those are just two teams that I wanted to see succeed in the NHL.
The Coyotes weren't that bad. They had some good pieces. I think if in the move, they got better ownership who take it seriously and have money. This is a team that was just waiting for an opportunity to be made a little better, and I think they could be pretty good.
And as I mentioned too, I predicted it before the year began. One of my bold predictions was Logan Cooley was going to be a Hart Trophy. I mean, not Logan Cooley. I'm sorry. Clayton Keller was going to be a Hart Trophy finalist this year, and he looks like he's a bat out of hell so far as well. He had an absolute beauty of a game-winning goal. I think it was the Rangers game. I think he had it, right?
It was the overtime goal, right?
Yeah, he had a beauty of an OT winner, absolute snipe. He looks like he's completely locked in. I think he's right near the top of the point totals as well right now. Watch out for Clayton Keller this year. This dude looks like he's going to be a man locked in and a man on a mission.
But I mean, second to me would be Calgary. I think being 3-0, I don't think it's going to last. I think they're going to drop off. They don't have much in the way of depth, and I think their defense needs some help. But it all depends on how the quality of their opponent shows up to play. But we've seen some weird anomalies, in the start of this season. But it's only week 1. The players are still learning how to play, how the referees are going to call the games, how the legs are going to get moving.
Learning how to play. I can imagine like 6-year-olds out there.
No, but they're learning how to play to the style of this year.
How
things are getting called. They're good. They're learning.
I thought it was funny.
They're learning, again, like every year at the start of every year is always a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah. And especially you got a new coach or, you got a bunch of new players. Yeah.
New guys fitting into different teams.
It's a growing period.
It was a weird preseason. And I think it was Slavkovsky in his pregame interview there. And he even said, it was a weird preseason. And it might have been Suzuki, but the start, it took a few games to sort of get stuff done that you couldn't do in the preseason, at least for Montreal, because we held guys out because of the injuries and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think with this year, you're going to see the first 6 or 7 games be a huge developmental piece for a lot of teams. That's what I think, especially with the way that the league has gone over the past few seasons, paying off the escrow with the lack of salary cap being increased. You had to see a lot of shift of veterans go to different teams, so you had a lot of new players on new teams each of the last 3 years. So it's going to be it's a huge development thing.
We had a question, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago about the preseason and whether they were necessary. A response from a player, like I heard today, tells me that, preseason is kind of necessary. Otherwise, you have the beginning of the year where you're going to have, like, how do you know what guys can make it from, junior team? You don't have preseason.
You can't
and it shows even veterans need the time, a few games, to get their games ready for the first, the opening.
Are you referring to Nathan McKinnon's comments on Spit and Chicklets?
It wasn't McKinnon, so it wouldn't shock me that other players are saying the same thing. It was one of the Habs. I'm not exactly sure if it was Slav or someone else.
McKinnon addressed it too. He was talking about how they might be implementing like a veteran rule or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact premise of it, but he gone on to say that he doesn't think the vets need to go play 6 games, but he thinks 2 to 3 is more than enough. And he just goes, it's more of a showcase for the young talent who want to fight for a roster spot. And he just goes, but and he mentions Drew Doughty. Look at Drew Doughty. I don't want to go and break my ankle for a glorified practice, which effectively is what it is for those, veteran guys that are going to make the team. But I still think it's a necessity.
I have to agree. Like, at the end of the day, you see the situation that these teams are. If you don't get at least a couple of preseason games in, what you're going to get at the end of the day is sloppy hockey. It's going to be a lot of pretty much a lot of sloppy plays, a lot of unnecessary turnovers, guys not knowing where they need to be. Yeah, I mean, training camp's obviously big. Like you get that opportunity to get back into hockey shape and build yourself back up to where you need to be. But at the end of the day, nothing replicates actual game action. You need at least a little to start working on things, gaining your chemistry again, gaining your flow for the game. And, Rick said something that I really liked as well is the sheer fact that we can't let these guys go out there and just not play preseason games because it's an opportunity for them to try things that they wouldn't be able to try in the preseason. I mean, in the regular season. It's an opportunity where you get those growing pains and try to just see what you can attempt to do in the preseason where you wouldn't want to maybe potentially take that risk in the regular season.
Valid point. It's a valid point. I mean, those were the teams that impressed us, right? So, I mean, but what about the teams that should have done better than what they actually did, especially where we had them in some of our predictions? You know what I mean? So that leads us into the second topic of what about the teams that had an unexpected rough start? I'll take this one. I think it'll be very similar. Everyone will have some very similar answers, but I think everyone will have a secondary response too. But I think Buffalo, they're 1-3. But the team that they beat was the reigning Stanley Cup champion. So maybe they're just confused. So I really don't know what to say.
Are they transitioning?
I have no idea. But they lost, I believe, twice to New Jersey, and I can't remember the third opponent that they had lost to, just off the top of my head. But I thought that with their defensive core that they would have been a lot better. Their goaltending tandem is pretty decent, especially with that defensive core. I think their forward core is okay, but I wasn't expecting them to start 1-3.
So maybe they'll do the opposite of what they usually do. They usually start out well and then drop off. So maybe they'll start out shitty and
maybe
I think they did that last year too. Actually, though, didn't they have a crap start last year? We mentioned that.
I don't know. I think they had a decent start last year, but they have a new coach in Lindy Ruff. I mean, see with that information what you will. But what was that, Alex?
I think he sucks personally.
Yeah, I thought it was a bad choice.
I don't think he's an awful coach, but I don't think he was the optimal coach.
He was a good coach in his day, no doubt. But I think just today, it's a modern game. You need a more modern coach, my opinion. It's nothing against Lindy Ruff. Mm-hmm. Just that I don't know if that's the right guy for today's game.
But I think that was a huge win for them to beat the reigning Stanley Cup champions. I wish Boston could do that. But
yeah, that's a bummer.
It just sucks. They just keep shooting themselves in the cocking
bummer.
But oh my God, it's like every time I get excited to watch this team, I just get a giant kick in the face.
Let me ask you a question, you two, then, before we get into this more. Do you think, like, if you were like me, would you not put Boston there a little bit in the disappointment?
No, I wouldn't put them there. They're 2-2. I kind of expected them to lose to Florida to both the games, but I was being optimistic. But
we also have agreed as a unit. We've agreed as a unit that opening night didn't happen.
Okay.
yeah.
So if you really think about it, we're still 2-1.
Denial is not just a river in Egypt.
Rick, it's okay.
There you go.
We've all collectively have decided that was a practice game. We're just going to move past it.
The Hydro Nation has collectively agreed. They pulled a Rex Ryan after they got curb stomped 45-3 to the Patriots.
Buddy, the Bruins are going 80-2. Buddy, the Bruins are going 80-2, and I'm in denial. So
we're on pace. We're on pace to go 80-2. But that's neither here nor there.
41-41.
That's neither here nor there.
And Marcus Stellick is on pace for 100 and something points. So the Bruins are the best point line in the NHL. That's fine. He's the freaking balls. But
you mean the no balls, right? No,
he's the balls. All right. Anyway, let's get back on track.
No, I wouldn't.
I wiped the floor with him, so
I wouldn't.
Jack is a coward.
Yeah, he's a little.
Oh yeah, okay. Now we're gonna fight. Deb's fighting fucking words now.
That's fine, Rick. I get good. Another hate crime for the day from me. But I wouldn't put the Bruins there. They're 2-2. If they were 1-3, I would say yeah. But
I was trying to be an asshole. I was just trying to be an asshole. That's all. I think I accomplished it. I think I accomplished it.
That's fair.
Honestly, let's be fair.
It doesn't take much for you.
Let's be fair, Rick. It's not their fault that the Florida Panthers are the biological fathers of the Boston Bruins.
Come on now.
In what capacity? Do you know anything about the overall record?
And they beat you the first 2 games this year. They own you. You have
Who's your daddy?
No, they don't. The overall historical record.
I'm not talking about historical. I'm
Come
talking about
on
right
now.
now.
Oh no, you can't do it by that, dude. Most people will say like over the
check?
last like 5 to 10 years.
Can we
Like,
check
most,
historical
like,
records between our
yeah,
two teams?
oh well, Rick, that's different.
I know that.
We've had 100 years to fight.
They're not going to want to do that one.
No, it doesn't fall in the favor of their argument.
No, but
All
that's
right.
fine. That's Montreal. That's not Florida, and that's not.
How
Florida
did we
and
get
Boston.
off track here like this?
Yeah.
Where were we?
You mentioned the Bruins.
I don't
Alex
remember.
wants to see me
Where were
angry.
we?
Alex wants to see me angry.
All right, reel it in, reel it in.
I'm reeling it in. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm here. I'm fine. I'm in denial. Fuck Buffalo. My second lowest team is Nashville. Just getting really aggressive right now.
That's a bit of a surprise, but 2 games. I didn't put them because it's just 2 games.
It is 2 games, but I thought that they would be better. I think throughout those games,
They
they
will
would have
be.
played better. Just looking at the acquisitions that they made, they just don't look clean. But I'm gonna
Okay,
go
but
back
it goes
what
to your point. It goes to your point where you were saying before. A bunch of new players, and it's going to take them a few games probably to get their.
And that was the point I was going to bring up. I'm willing to give them that break. That's why they're not number 1 on my list. But a lot of Stanley Cup pedigree on that team, so it's kind of
They'll get there.
kind of hard to give them a little bit of that break, right? They know what it takes. Not to say that we're in the playoffs, but they know what it takes to reel people in and get games going. But I agree with you. That's why they're second. I'm surprised they're not 2-0.
Yeah, no,
Alex.
that's true, but still.
Alex, who do you hate outside of me?
So one of my picks is similar to you, but my first one is the Edmonton Oilers, 0-3. Now I know they've done this story before. They did it last year. And
it was his
they ended up
second one.
Yeah, and they went to the Cup final too last year.
Yeah, so
mine.
I'm not worried about them, but I will say this: a surprise start. I figured they'd still be better than an 0-3 start, especially they just played, especially last game against Calgary. You're coming off of a back-to-back the night before. You're the well-rested team. Calgary is not. Calgary travels to you, and they kick your doors in. That game was surprising me. If they had won that game, I probably don't put them in this list. But that's friggin' embarrassing.
It's Calgary.
Huh?
They need to dig the fuck in right now. Right now.
The freaking McDavid clip's great, but
I love that clip on Amazon Prime, buddy. It's
good.
So great. Like his voice gets so high pitched. Like it's
I don't blame him.
He was mad.
I know.
He was mad.
Shit.
Yeah. He was pissed. No, I don't disagree, but I just think it was funny how high his voice got with how
he went full 14-year-old teenager going through puberty.
Yeah.
But one major issue at Edmonton is they just haven't been able to score like that. Like has McDavid recorded? I think McDavid's got like 1 point so far.
So it won't last probably.
It won't last. They play us next tomorrow, and I fully expect them to kick our doors in 7-2 or something like that. I am
probably
100% expecting to get that first win against us
better you than
tomorrow.
Us.
I know how this story goes. We catch Edmonton struggling. They're going to be looking for a team to take it out on, and they're going to pour fucking 4 goals in the first period on this. Bookmark this. We're going to get mollywopped by them. But
I don't know. I feel like you guys are a good underdog. Like Philadelphia plays well as an underdog. I'm not going to lie.
What's weird?
But when you need a win, God, you can't get it. Like look at last year. You couldn't buy a fucking win in the last half.
They got that overrated guy there, Michkov, I think his name is.
Yeah, he's not having a good strong start. I'm actually starting to pivot towards with Matt and Rick. Lane Hudson's making a case for the Calder right now.
This is week 1 overreactions. We'll be back here in January and we'll see where we're at.
Michkov is a menace. He's going to be so good.
Oh, I know. He's so good.
And I hate admitting that. He's going to be so good.
I'm just trying to make Alex.
You all didn't want to believe me.
He's extremely creative. I love Mitch Cobb. Like I love watching him skate. It's really
you saw that third period against Vancouver. He was putting on a magic act. The fact that he didn't win that third period was Luchenko got robbed on a rebound off that beautiful toe drag shot. But anyway,
also
getting off track.
But I just have to give credit to Rick and Matt because Lane Hudson is also having an insane start.
He's having a great start.
I didn't think he was going to be paced with Michkov. But if Lane Hudson keeps this pace, he could make a run at Michkov.
He could.
Wait a second.
He keeps this up, but that's a big if. So we'll see.
If Hudson can keep this pace, Michov's going to have to put up 15 or more points than Hudson to get the Calder. A defenseman has to put up less.
Yeah. So we'll see where we're at, and by January or so, we'll be able to revisit this a little bit.
Obviously.
My second team, though, I'm actually in agreement with Cam. I actually picked Nashville as well. I'm not too worried about them, but
you didn't pick Buffalo at all.
Yeah, they're 0-2. I get it. They've only played 2 games. I still expect that team to get going sooner rather than later. I think these first 2 games is something we mentioned earlier on the show. It's an opportunity for them to build some chemistry. They have a lot of new players. You had Stamkos, you had Marchessault, you had Brady Shea. There's a lot of new faces on that team. So
see, I'm surprised at you. I thought you were going to pick Buffalo. I thought everyone here was going to have Buffalo in some capacity because they're 1-3.
You know why I don't pick Buffalo? Because I expect this from them. They're a terrorist organization. Until freaking they prove otherwise,
you got them going again.
Organization, I will always expect them to suck ass. They're the New York Jets of the NHL. They're the New York Jets.
Toronto Maple Leafs were the New York Jets of the NHL.
No, at least the Maple Leafs can make the playoffs. The Jets haven't made the playoffs since 2010, which is the same thing as Buffalo.
I don't know. Toronto keeps getting knocked out of the first round of the playoffs. So it's like they're not even making the playoffs. They might as well not even try.
Toronto's the Dallas Cowboys in the
Did you see the meme?
That's the perfect comp. Toronto.
That's your second Jets reference of the episode so far.
I like making fun of the Jets. It's funny.
Did you see the newest Leafs meme? Since 2010, the NHL playoffs.
Oh, I saw that. I sent that to you.
Something like 10 and whatever, and the Leafs 0.
Yeah, it's like NHL thing, like top 10 teams that like NHLs get owned by or something like that, and the Leafs are owned by the first round.
That's
2010, which is funny.
Am I next?
But the last point on it, I'll be quick with Nashville. I think they'll be fine, but yeah, I think it's just a chemistry building time. They'll be okay, but it is a little surprising. I thought they would have still won one of their first 2 games. Rick, the floor is yours.
The floor is mine. First of all, he lied because he had Nashville then Edmonton.
Well,
and the only reason I bring it up is because I thought I was going to be the only one with Edmonton, and he stole my thunder. So yeah, I've got Edmonton because 0-3 start. You know, one reason they were the odds-on favorite to be the Cup winner going into the season, which I thought was stupid. I didn't think they should be the Cup favorite for the betting. If you look at the betting circle there, I don't know what puck something whatever, they were the odds-on favorite to win the Cup. So an 0-3 start, kind of like last year, where they had a shitty start. Are they gonna have another one of those and have to do a miracle save to get to the playoffs? I don't know.
Rick, to that point, you mentioned about the betting, like, and you said that, you didn't necessarily agree with Edmonton being the odds-on favorite, right? But that typically is the case between those two teams. Like, if Vegas feels like, the other team was the better team, they might put them just slightly above, and then they'll compare the rosters. I mean, I thought Edmonton got better offensively.
First of all, I didn't say that was wrong. I just said they were the odds-on favorite to win the Cup, starting 0-3. That's pretty disappointing.
Oh yeah, of course.
That was my point. You gotta. It's called Q-tips, and you stick.
No, buddy, I gotta go drain my ear after this. I have an ear infection. Come on.
All right, so so for me there, I worry about that for them, the goaltending tandem. They don't really have a backup, and they've got Stuart Skinner, who is very inconsistent and up and down. My second one is Buffalo, 1-3, and the biggest reason is because I picked them to finish 4th in the Atlantic. I thought this would be the year. One of these years has to be Buffalo's year.
You have to adopt Alex's attitude and just
maybe it's 2050.
They're never going to get me good.
Yeah, I'm saying maybe it's 2050. I don't know. But, I mean, they're wasting one hell of a good team. They're wasting some good players there. So, yeah, there you go.
I think at this point they've tried everything. Just to go back on Buffalo, I think they've tried everything. They tried to coach. They tried, dealing out some players, getting new players in. They tried a whole bunch of things. I think they got rid of the GM at one point. I'm like, at what point do you just look at and say, maybe it's ownership? And I think it is ownership. I'm with Matt. Yeah. I've been with you guys on this, that the Pagulas suck.
Yeah.
Like, get someone in there that actually gives a shit about hockey, because Buffalo is a huge sports
Hockey
city.
people.
It's just in general a huge sports city. Like
It is,
the
yeah.
Bills, the formerly the Sabres, because now it's hard to find someone in a Buffalo jersey when you go up to like upstate New York. It's really difficult. Like they're doing themselves a disservice.
Yeah, they should put a hockey person to run that team, and they don't do
sucks.
Yeah.
Hire me. I'll do it. I'll get paid.
Well, we want them to get better, Cam. We're talking about them getting better.
Sucks.
Vogel, who are your guys?
This one's going to be real original. My top team, Edmonton. Like you said, they were the Cup favorite.
Original, man. Like you said.
Yeah. They were the Cup favorites going into the year. Obviously, they made it to the finals last year. I think that's another prime example of they have a ton of pieces and they're being wasted. I think last year was their shot to win. I don't think they blew it. I don't know if they're going to get back. I like Edmonton. I would love to see McDavid get a cup because he deserves it. I think Draisaitl does too, but I don't think it's going to happen. And yeah, I don't want to get, hammer home on what you guys already got into, but Buffalo. I got Buffalo in there again. They had a before yesterday an 0-3 start. I didn't have them finishing fourth in the Atlantic, but I had them finishing, not last, and they have sucked. They suck, and I don't know how they pull up that win against Florida, and it's going to drive me crazy.
Especially.
Oh man,
yeah.
I just want to bring up like the path to the Cup final for Edmonton was more or less easy. Like their first round against Vancouver, I don't think they would have made it out of their. I'm sorry.
Vancouver was the second.
Oh, sorry, the second round. Like Dallas, I think just fumbled the bag, and I just think they couldn't do it. Maybe it wasn't Dallas's time yet, and then they get Vancouver, which I think if Vancouver had Demko or Silovs even remotely close to that series, Edmonton didn't have a chance. Their goaltending just wasn't there.
That proves my point that last year was the year to do it. That was it. I think that was their shot. They had it, and they were within arm's reach, and they blew it. And they need a goalie. They need a goalie up there.
The fact that they did not improve the goaltending in Edmonton is beyond understanding. Right? Even a backup, just get a better backup. How did they not even just do that?
No, Vancouver was the Western Final.
No, that was Dallas. I know because I had my money on Dallas.
Yeah, it was Dallas.
I had Dallas and the Celtics in my two late
you're right. You're right. Yeah.
The first round was the
I'm getting my dates mixed up. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. But no, I don't think they would have made it past Vancouver. So I don't know. I think Edmonton's path to the Cup was easier. They played, I think, did they play Vegas in round one, if I'm not mistaken?
No, Dallas played Vegas. They played the Kings round one.
Kings. Oh, when you say easier, do you mean easier teams or easier in the games? Because didn't they struggle in each series? And then the second part of the series, Skinner was just great in the second half of all the series.
Yeah.
And that's how they did it?
I think the other teams just gave, their path, I think, was easier with regards to that because, I don't know, the other teams just gave up. Like, the Kings, whatever, I think they were up and coming. You know what I mean? Like, Pierre-Luc Dubois was on that team. I don't know. I just didn't see their path as that difficult outside of Dallas. I mean, if you look at the Vancouver series, Vancouver didn't have their number one goaltender.
That's fair.
So, I mean, that's why I say it's a little bit easier. And I think Dallas was just run down by the other ones. And by the time they got to Florida.
Dallas just got stifled.
But sorry to give credit to Edmonton, they battled back against Florida. And I wasn't expecting that. So, yeah, in all honesty, maybe Edmonton should have won that series. But I don't know. Fans might hate me for thinking that their path was easy, but I don't know. Something about it to me just felt like it wasn't there. Like, the puck doesn't lie, and Florida won the series. But this is my thoughts. If I can get my matchups straight though from last year, that'd be great, right? I'm just screwing those up like no tomorrow.
It's hard sometimes to remember, though.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Before we move on to the injury updates. What do you guys think? Nordy has Buffalo. Seems like it's a pretty unanimous pick, and he had Pittsburgh, who had a 1 and 2 start. What do you guys think about that?
I didn't think
We're
Pittsburgh
playing
was
them tonight.
unexpected.
Here's the thing. I don't care for Pittsburgh because I think their time is their window's slammed shut. Their window's slammed shut. So I don't find that really surprising that they're 1 and 2 because they don't I mean, they're being carried by a bunch of late 30-year-olds at this stage that I just don't think can carry them as far as they think anymore. It's the oldest team in hockey with no prospect pool.
I think McGroarty's doing well for them. I think, like, you know,
he's not.
Third-line minutes.
No, two shots on goal coming into the game tonight. They're beating us 2-1. I'm just looking, but I don't know who scored anything.
Caden Gooley scored your goal. I know that.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, the thing with the Penguins I look at is it's just this is an old team. It's the oldest roster in hockey. They have no prospect pool. They locked up Erik Karlsson, which is a contract they think they're going to regret. Like he already showed that he's a defensive liability still. He was putting up points, but not at the rate that they wanted him to when they first acquired him. So I don't know. I don't see it with Pittsburgh. Like I said off air, my bold prediction is they're not going to make the playoffs again until the 2030s.
Crosby's there for longer now. Like, you know what I mean? They have him. They signed a deal with him.
They have him for 3 more years, and I think by the end of the last year he gets moved. I don't think they're making playoffs this year. I don't think they're making playoffs next year. I think they're done. Their time has come.
I think it's a valid point. Not going to get much argument from me either. That's going to lead us into some injury reports, right?
Or else silence.
So let's
silence. Like no one likes Pittsburgh. It's like dead. It's like dead. Just like
they're beating us, so fuck Pittsburgh.
I'll lead us into the injuries. So there's been a good amount of injuries so far this year. A few notable names that have seen some injuries. We had the Tyler Myers injury against Philly. Barkov got dinged up, I believe, in Florida's game against Buffalo. He's going to be gone a couple weeks as well. Celebrini had a hip injury. He was just recently put on IR. So that's an unfortunate loss for San Jose and a Calder race in general. Eriksson Ek ended up dealing with a facial injury. I think it was his broken nose or something like that.
Yep, broken nose.
It was a few other ones as well. So what are the injuries that have really stood out for you guys? I'll lean into this one. I got Alexander Barkov. That ankle sprain was violent. I thought it was a lot worse at the time. It looked like a break. Thank God it's not. But he's going to be gone a couple weeks, and that's Florida's number one forward, and maybe even number one player. So
they didn't have any problem today, if you noticed.
Yeah, the team that they played, they just have their numbers. So, but anyway.
What are you talking about? Oh my God, dude!
Will you stop allowing me
to
so
stupid. In the playoffs, I'm fighting.
It's what they want.
Yeah, there's no basis on it. And like in the playoffs, yes, but they've always had our number in the playoffs.
No kidding, Rick. They're baiting right into it.
But my God, dude, just go.
They own you.
The past season.
But anyway,
we're on to Colorado. It doesn't matter.
We're on to Colorado. We're going to 80-8. I'm sorry, we're going 80-2.
No, you're going 78-4. You're going to lose all 4 to Florida. But anyway, Barkov
I
put
hope
his
Mitch
ankle
Kroft
injury.
gets Eric Lindros.
That's a big injury. That's a big injury for them. I hope he's all right. I heard that Lindros comment. I'm just going to ignore it.
2 weeks isn't that bad. 2 weeks isn't that bad.
I don't know. High ankles take time. I think it's going to be longer than 2 weeks.
Is it a high ankle sprain? You're sure?
If it's a high ankle, which is what I'm hearing.
If it's a high ankle, it wouldn't be 2-3 weeks.
No, that sounds.
They wouldn't have said 2-3 weeks.
There's certain degrees of
more than that even with a high
ankles. Grade 1's usually around that 2 to 3 range, so he may have gotten lucky in that aspect.
Answered your question.
But a moderate one. Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Well, you said a high ankle, but I mean, you can tell by the diagnosis it's not. That's all. Then you answered.
I thought it was a high ankle. I heard.
It wouldn't be 2-3 weeks. It would be longer, 4 to 6 for a high ankle.
High ankles.
Oh wow!
High ankle sprains can be 2 to 3 weeks. That's the thing.
Unlikely for a high ankle sprain.
But it's usually 4 to 6. I agree with that. But,
so there you go.
And that was the medical staff at our team here giving the synopsis on Barkov's injury. Well, way to go, guys. I'm glad if I ever need to go to the emergency room, I don't want either one of you near me.
Just be glad Gordy's not here.
Matt would have had
he's
him
the worst.
dead. Matt would have had him in a coffin.
Yeah, Nordy would have been like, dude, oh, you broke your leg. You have like 30 seconds to live. My bad.
Yeah,
Nordy
is
would have
that-
pulled up a giant fucking diagnosis billboard and just pulled out a fucking ruler stick and just pointed out each ligament and what it does and how long each ligament will impair you for.
Barkov, I don't know we're gonna have to tell you this, but we're gonna have to pull the cord. It's a high ankle sprain. Nope, it's worse than that.
No, we're
Man.
gonna
It's
have to
worse than we
amputate
thought.
leg.
You gotta cut the leg off.
We
We
have to
gotta cut
amputate
it
your
off.
head. We have to decapitate.
But anyway, moving on. The other injury that stood out to me was the Celebrini injury. He's been put on IR with a hip injury. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know too much about this injury. I actually didn't even know he got hurt until the IR diagnosis came out. But I don't know how long he's going to be out for. And I didn't expect San Jose to be all that good to begin with this year. But losing him for any significant amount of time, you're taking away the number one forward on that team, at least potential-wise, for a good chunk of time. The little hope San Jose had of improving may have just fallen into a bottomless pit until he's back.
Yeah, for this year, yeah.
But, those are my two teams. Players.
For me, I said, lucky for Myers, because I heard he blew out, like his knee exploded. That's how I heard it. I didn't see it.
It was in the Philly game, yeah.
That's what I read.
A nasty fall.
Yeah, and I just read his knee exploded. Like, and that was probably live tweeted. But anyway, I hate that guy though, because he injured Armia a few years back. Like it was a horrible hit from him. Anyway, so I hate that guy. So fuck him. He, along with Kent Johnson, that's fine with me.
Hashtag fuck Kent Johnson.
In 5 years, we're still going to be saying fuck Kent Johnson. Watch and see.
Yeah, you should. He sucks.
Nasty. Did you see a goal he scored? Like the guy
he had a good game.
Irrelevant.
Okay.
He's a good player. He's supposed to be a good player. Anyway,
yeah, he is. He's going to be a damn good player.
The Celebrini hip, the hip can be a worry. Like that could be. It's hard to tell. I didn't hear what it was. I didn't hear a time frame either. But that's like you said, that's going to screw up there this year anyway. If he misses time like Bedard did last year, 35 games? Like that takes him.
That many games. He only missed like 15.
No, Bedard?
Yeah, he only broke his jaw. He was gone for about 4.
Did he miss more than that?
He played 68 games, got 61 points.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, okay, but if he misses significant time, that's going to screw up the Calder race for him. Eriksson Ek, how many concussions has that guy had? He's a very physical. Like he plays a hard game. I worry about that. If it's a concussion, I worry about that for him. That's.
I don't know. It's not football. They'll take care of him. He's not going to be a Tua Tagovailoa. Like, you know what I mean? I think he'll be fine, but they'll monitor him.
I'm just saying. You worry about a guy who's taken multiple concussions in his career.
That's all naturally.
I mean, will he be back? I'm sure he will be.
No, but I think the medical staffs on the teams know how to treat these a lot better than other leagues, like in the world, mainly football. I mean, if you look at, like I mentioned his name, Tua from the Miami Dolphins and in the NFL, that man is getting obliterated and his head is his brains are mush, and they're just like, hey, you good to go back out? And he gives him a thumbs up, but he probably has no idea what the hell he's agreeing to. And then they send them back out there. So, no, I think the NHL does a better job at
I don't know. Gary Bettman still doesn't believe in CTE.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they don't.
That doesn't mean
right.
Yeah, that doesn't mean they don't do their due diligence before sending a player out.
The doctors don't. I'm just saying, when your commissioner is still a CTE denier, that's not a good look on your league when it comes to.
It's not a good look, but with that protocol, and they do it, and they seem to do it properly.
They have a much better protocol, yeah.
I will say the NFL does have an improved concussion protocol. Tua Tagovailoa is on injured reserve right now. He's been out for about 3 or 4 weeks in football. Not to get too off topic, but the NFL's concussion protocol is a 5-step protocol before you're allowed to come back, which takes at the minimum of a week. So,
what do you mean? Can you define 5-step protocol? So if Tua takes literally 5 steps, does that mean he's good?
Right.
Because that's what I think it's the equivalent of.
But
then again, that's not to get off topic.
He's had 4 known concussions in the last 2 years, 3 in 1 full year. He's trying to come back.
If that compares to Eriksson Ek, I just think the NHL does a better job. So I'm not really too concerned about Eriksson Ek. I think they'll have a good way to get him back onto NHL action if that's the choice he wants to make, and if he's able to do so.
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, for me, I mean the biggest shocking one, or not the most shocking one, but the one that might have the most impact is going to be Alexander Barkov. I mean, that is a big cornerstone piece to the Florida Panthers. He's the best defensive forward that they have. They do have Anton Lundell, who has been described as a mini Alexander Barkov. So I mean, that's a huge prop to receive from somebody. I think the team will just be fine without him, but I think the team is also missing Matty Tkachuk. I mean, that's an illness, though. I'm not going to put that up on an injury, but to have those two players out, that's pretty significant. Doesn't matter because the Bruins still can't seem to fucking beat them.
Right. They were still able to beat you guys, so they're fine.
So, but then again, they lose to the Buffalo Sabres. So the team, I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you. So it's the biggest kick in
Early
the balls.
season. It happens a lot in the early season. You see games, you got like, how's that possible? But it's because it's early.
So it's fine. I'm not salty about it. Fuck those guys. But
No, you're not
Paul
salty.
Maurice likes feet. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to leave it there and leave it with that. That's the biggest insult I could probably give to him. No, honestly, he's a good coach. But yeah, I think Barkov is one of the most impactful ones. And, kind of going back to preseason, Drew Doughty is still injured.
Line
A, those are two impactful injuries because those are more long-term. Those are two more long-term injuries. But I thought the LA Kings were going to absolutely struggle without Drew, and they're actually doing very, very well, and huge props to them. Montreal. No, I think Montreal they can survive without Line A because they do have an excellent prospect pool, but I think it definitely hurts you. But it's nowhere near to the capacity that I think it would have impacted LA for Drew Doughty. Well, what do you think?
I also have Barkov, and obviously him being out doesn't mean anything because
you guys,
whatever. But the biggest one to me is Celebrini. That hip injury, again, I'm with Alex. I don't know exactly what the diagnosis was or what the injury was, but hips are tricky. I mean, think about with hockey players that could flare up. I mean, God knows how often or how many times or you know what I mean? Like the severity of it. I hope that doesn't, like you said, San Jose might have gotten derailed. I hope that doesn't derail his career. Like that's going to come back.
He's young, though. He's young. He should.
Oh no, I know, but I'm just saying in the future. Again, hips
down the road.
tricky.
Yeah, you're right.
Hips are tricky.
Yeah, no, down the road. We've seen. Look, Monahan missed how much time with the hip, and if you have to get it resurfaced, it takes a while to recover.
Yeah, that was the biggest one to me that stood out. But I hope that doesn't come back to bite him in the ass because I've only watched a handful of Sharks games and just seen clips and stuff, but he's been good. I mean, he's already scored. He's looked good.
Hips don't lie, baby. Hips don't lie.
The hips don't lie. Shakira.
All right.
Hey, Alex, who sings that song?
Shakira.
Can you keep it that way?
You think? All right. I know we're near the end. So
sucks.
I'm going to take off now. Thanks, everyone. Can I get done here? I'm going to take off because I got to go do the live stream, and save Matt from this total destruction.
Good luck.
So, I know if you're watching this now, you can't come join because it's live, and we're not right now. But thanks everybody thanks guys for having me again, as always, and I'll see you soon.
You direct the show, you muppet.
I know.
What are we doing? Okay, go drink your prune juice and go to bed. Come on, we're gonna send you to the home.
Yeah, it's my bedtime. It's my bedtime. I gotta go.
Sleeping time for Rick.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Rick.
Hey, Rick.
Boys, what else do we have to add before we close out the episode? Any other news that we could kind of talk about here? How about actually? Let's just talk about this real quick. I want to bring up some of the early officiating.
I know. I'm surprised Rick didn't attack the refs
of the games. Is it just me? Or are they really trying to let games get out of control? Like early on this year. Today, AJ Greer had a very questionable hit on the numbers to David Pasternak. Not even an eyelash was batted towards it. But then McAvoy, gets called for a cross-check for a little bit extra when I think it was Verhaeghe was already down. But it just seems like a lot of these calls are soft. I mean, some of the calls are deserved, absolutely. And I'm not going to speak about the ones that are deserved, but do we also even know what goaltender interference is?
No, we never will.
No,
Because
it's always going to be up in the air and a judgment call, and it's never going to be the right call.
There's no consistency with it. You need a lot of outline for it at this point.
Because I know in the Montreal game we had the issue with Brazeau, who supposedly caught Montembeau's
That was a terrible
leg.
call.
That was an awful call. Like I was like, he was able to play his position. That's difficult to say. There was another game that had a similar situation. The guy on the offense got pushed into the goaltender, and they called it goaltender interference on the offense. And I'm just like, what exactly is goaltender interference? Because every time I look at it, I read the rule book. I'm like, okay, I read it, I understand it. What the hell is going on? And if all I'm saying is in the playoffs, if the Sam Bennett cross-check to Coyle is not goaltender interference, even though by rule it is, then what the fuck is? What is the standard?
I think across the board, I think Alex, explained it perfectly. It's just inconsistent. If you're going to call the game a certain way, then call it a certain way. And it should be across the league. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, with me and Cam specifically, because you probably have seen it in Flyers games, but in Bruins games. But it's happened across the league. The penalty's been crazy.
Yeah,
the stuff that should be called is stuff that shouldn't be called it's just inconsistent, and it's got to change.
I will say in the 2 games we've had so far, the only gripe I've had so far with the officiating was a stupid fucking 10-minute misconduct that was called on a fight. That's one that doesn't get talked about enough. What the fuck clarifies as a 10-minute misconduct? What
discretion? The discretion of the referee the 10-minute misconducts can be handed out at the discretion of the referee, depending on the severity of a penalty. Did you know that?
I just don't get it. Like, there's no real consistency with it.
I don't know. That's the thing. If you're going to call a game, call it the right. Call it. The right way, all the way through.
Unless you're going beyond overboard, like you're punching a guy when he's already down or something like that. Yeah. I wouldn't even give out a 10-minute game misconduct.
My only other element to the piece, just to add to Vogel's point, and it kind of echoes what Alex is saying. Like, I don't think I just need consistency across the league, consistency within the game. Because you'll see the same exact thing happen later on, and then the hands are down. And I'm like, there are 4 of you on the ice, 10 players, 12 of you include the goalies. But there's no way 4 of you can miss certain things. Like, you guys have assignments for reasons, or you're just going to let games get out of hand. It happened in game 1 in both games against Florida for Boston. Boston felt like a huge call was missed. So the response, if you feel like you're not protected, they're going to protect themselves. And it's historical within the NHL.
It's happened several times already this week.
Yeah.
The players start policing the game themselves. And that's when more stupid penalties come.
McKinnon got ejected for blasting at the ref. Now, mind you, I don't know what he was blasting about, but I'm just like, well, I'm actually on the side now of maybe you do at the end of the game put the refs up against a mic and just say, why was it called this way? Don't just let them explain it to the coach. I want to understand their rationale. Like, maybe that should be explained. It's just something to kind of give the fans some vindication of, like, is the game actually being called per the rule book, or is it just being called that to what you believe is happening?
They need a model of consistency when it comes down to it. Like, I think you hit the hammer on the nail there, Cam. If you're going to call something in a game, make sure you call it across the board. As simple as that. I couldn't agree more with that point. Because if you're going to let one thing go, let it go for both teams. If you're going to be friggin' tight around the books for one, like a minor slash that he maybe brushes his glove, and then you end up friggin' not calling it the other way when someone goes 2-hand tomahawk across their friggin' abdomen. That's all we ask for is consistency within the game. I agree with that.
And I'm with you 100% that after put refs in front of a mic, especially in playoffs. But no league will ever do that. NFL, MLB.
Look at the year.
Never happened, but it should.
Look at the year Vegas went to. I believe it was the Cup final against. I think it was 2018. Where I think it was San Jose or some team retired like 4 sets of refs or 2 sets of refs throughout the playoffs because refs were making bad calls. So either have a better training program, cite better examples of what should be called, or do something. Like I'm a big believer in that. Like, I give refs the benefit of the doubt because you are trying to process this while skaters are going 20 miles an hour. I think at worst case, call it on the ice, review it, and then if you're wrong, you're wrong. But at least you got it right. I mean, the refs have the power to do that now with the 5-minute majors. They can review it and then reduce it. You know what I mean? Which I think is fucking wild. I think if anything, you need some significant justification to reduce a 5-minute major. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're trying to judge intent, that's the thing. If it's like the dead in the head whistle call, like that's bullshit. If there's no whistle, it's a live play. There's no such thing as dead in the head. I don't like that. It's bull. It's a big load of crap. It ruins the game, in my opinion. If you can't, just be on the safe side. Blow it dead if you can't see the puck. Don't wait 5 freaking seconds, because then if the puck's in the back of the net, you're going to get a big argument from fans like, well, why didn't you blow it then? It's 5 seconds. 5 seconds is a long time.
It comes down to consistency. I mean, that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, and it's I do. I want to see refs in front of a mic, and I feel bad for refs too at the same time, because fans let them hear it, coaches let them hear it, players let them hear it, everyone lets them hear it. I'm pretty sure their wives let them hear it. Like, it's just it's nuts. They don't get a break, and it's definitely a hard job to have. But you could make it so much easier on yourselves, and the NHL can make it so much easier on them by just implementing something that kind of helps them out, helps the players out, and helps the game progress. Even if it's slowing down the game and having it go an extra 2 minutes a night, that doesn't impact my life. It's not like baseball where I need to wait 4 hours for the pitcher to throw a fucking ball. By that time, I've had 5 hot dogs and 6 beers, and I'm good. And
there's a pitch clock now. Let's not get crazy.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, best 20 decision they ever made.
But you see my point, though. Like, that extra 2 minutes doesn't add too much if you're not positive on a call, which most times I would say calls are pretty egregious. But if it's a ticky-tack call, call it, review it. Should take 30 seconds. No more. Maybe less. Get me a TV timeout so I can watch Bud Light commercials. I don't know.
We're going to keep having this, not argument, but we're going to keep trying to prove this point we've done it for years. It's happening still. It'll still happen in the future. And like you said, there's got to be some kind of resolve for it, whether you better training or what have you. But there's got to be a resolve, because no one's ever going to be happy. There's never going to be a way where you can satisfy everyone. And like we said, the leagues are never going to put their refs in front of a mic.
Yep, no, I agree. All right, well, those are my final thoughts. Week 1 was in the books. Hockey's back. Love to see it. Hate being 2-2 and the 2 losses only coming to the Florida Panthers, but I'll get over it.
1-1. How do you think I'm feeling? These two guys have played 4 games.
Womp womp, sad womp. All right,
Alex, final thoughts?
Yeah, my final thoughts is simply this: don't overreact to week 1. Well, weekend, things are going to adjust. The good teams are going to eventually play that game that is starting off slow. The bad teams that are starting off hot are going to eventually fall back into the field. Don't ever react to week 1. See where we are in January. That's when you start making a real clear basis of where a team should and should not be. Maybe even Thanksgiving, but personally, I'm more closer to New Year's. But yeah, don't overreact to week 1 is my simple ending to this episode.
Quick, actually, thing to that. They say Thanksgiving is a really good assessment, because I think teams that are already in the playoffs, 76% of teams that are in a playoff spot already are going to be in there. So that's
Flyers were in that spot last year. They didn't make the playoffs.
Like I said, you couldn't buy. It's because your team couldn't buy a fucking win in the latter half of the season.
Nah, goaltending imploded. That's what it means.
It imploded. It didn't work. The whole team just went kaboom.
No,
launched into the freaking sun. Your team sucked ass. Like, there was no question about it. Didn't even belong in the playoffs.
I can't even argue it.
You lost your playoff spot to the fucking Washington Capitals. They had a negative goal differential. You bum.
We should have had that spot. We deserved it.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I don't know. Next time, be better. Maybe be better this year.
We have something that can cure the power play, and his name is Matvei Michkov. We'll see how he is. He got a power play point last game, so that's a start.
All right, there we go. Before he gets going, Vogel, give us your final thoughts.
Okay, I am gonna overreact to week 1, and I'll come out and admit it. I'm the kind of person, after every game I'm going to overreact. But no, like we said, week 1 is back. I mean, week 1 is over. Hockey's back. It's been fun, watching late night games over on the West Coast. I know we're on the East Coast now for those listening or watching. It's been good, but if we keep losing to Florida, I'm going to rip all the hair out of my head.
Or what's left of it.
Well, if you guys don't have anything else, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for episode 43 of the Pucking Around podcast, presented by Don't Puck with Media. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube for all of our shows here, including Hab Normals on Talking Habs, Hibernation, the premier Boston Bruins podcast, Flyer Gonna Flyer. We have so much good content for everyone. For those listening or watching on YouTube, thank you guys so much. Leave a comment below if you guys think, if you agree with us or disagree with us on the teams that have impressed you, or put your fingers down, or have disappointed you so far this year. Alex, your hand was up first. What do you got?
I do want to mention one last thing before we go off air. This is something that we've been talking about behind the scenes. For my personal podcast, Flyer Gonna Flyer, any Flyers fans or anyone in general that wants to tune in, Saturday, we're going to be doing a live episode for our 15th installment of Flyer Gonna Flyer. It'll be a 6:00 p.m. start, where we're going to just going over the week ahead. And then we're going to be going right into a live stream of the game itself for the Flyers home opener against Vancouver. So check us out there as well if you want. If you want to just watch and make fun of me and call me a piece of shit and make fun of the Flyers, you can do that too. But just want to give everyone that heads up. We're going to be going live on Saturday.
Hey, Alex.
Cam.
You're a piece of shit. Just letting you know that.
Now
right
I'm sad.
No, and everybody, don't forget, we're actually going to be bringing back some fan favorite side shows that we had last year. Specifically, the Sin Bin, where Alex and I used to fight it out. But we're going to include everybody here because we love to. And we're going to have a new show coming. It's going to be called Who Would You Rather? It's going to be kind of like a debate show similar to Sin Bin, where we would pose a question of who would we rather have. It could be a player, coach, GM, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Fuck the Bagulas. You hear me out there, Buffalo?
Buffalo Terrorist Organization.
And we'll go from there. Without further ado, Vogel, take us out.
All right. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think. Other than that, for everyone listening or watching, we love you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You have no idea how much we appreciate all of this. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching Pucking Around. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know you're rooting for us, but now it's time to go.